Please go ahead.
Good morning to everyone in Peru. Good evening to friends in India. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Santosh Matthew, Head of International Affairs Associate. Welcome to the webinar on India and Peru, business opportunities in trade of goods, services and investments, being organized jointly by India and India and Peru. It is an honor for us to have the presence of His Excellency, Mr. M. Subbiah, Ambassador of India to Peru, Mr. Luis Quevedo, Trade Consul of Peru in India. Joining the Excellencies today, we have an elite panel of distinguished speakers that includes Mr. S. Suresh Kumar, Joint Secretary, FT LAC Division, Ministry of Commerce and Industry, Government of India, Dr. Niranjan Hiranandani, President, ASSOCHAM, Mr. Rohit Rao, President, INCHAM Peru, and Mr. Carlos Anderson from Europa Partners. I think he'll be joining in a moment with us. To begin this webinar, I would like to welcome the moderator of the session, Mr. Gabriel D. Castillo, Vice President, Instituto del Fichero. A brief introduction of Mr. Gabriel. Gabriel is the Vice President at the Instituto del Fichero in Peru. He has done his Bachelor of Arts in International Development from the University of Sussex, UK. He is looking to cultivate a comprehensive long-term vision of the world and society with the objective to drive positive impact through policy, innovation, and powerful insights. He is a specialist in strategic foresight, public policy, and international development. He can speak Spanish, French, and English. So, again, over to you to take the webinar forward and introduce the distinguished panelists, esteemed audience. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and welcome everyone to this webinar we're having here today to discuss business opportunities in trade of goods and services and investments between India and Peru. First of all, I'd like to thank all panelists for joining, and I'd like to give Dr. Niranjan Hiranandani the floor to give a few remarks. Dr. Hiranandani is president of ASSOCHAM and co-founder of the Hiranandani Group of Companies.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gabriel. It's really nice to be over here and this opportunity of joining both ends of the world, the other sides of the globe. So welcome from Peru, welcome from India. And I think we really have an opportunity to really meet in this way when we are locked down. I think this is going to be a new norm in the entire world. And let's grab the opportunities in order to make and say that this negative position is really something that we will take care of. Your Excellency, Mr. Subbarayu, the Ambassador of India to Peru, sir, we're very happy and very glad to hear about your proactive activities in Peru on behalf of India. And we certainly look forward to the continuing interaction between our two countries and to take all these things forward to the new level of occupation that we do. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Luis Quevedo, the Trade Counselor of Peru in India. We really, namaste, we really have an opportunity, I think, that we really need to go and take a leap forward. Many times we talk about taking steps forward. I think a time has come where steps are not sufficient. I think a leap forward is going to be a new wave that you are going to do. Mr. Suresh Kumar, thank you very much for being here today, sir. We are very happy. Namaskar. It's really a major thing that you're able to go to the offices in Delhi and to be able to be fully functional in this. I think that's a very big thing. And you must congratulate your minister, Mr. Piyush Goyal, on the extreme activities that he has been able to do in the commerce field and the paradigm which we have seen in the announcement of the finance minister yesterday and the last 4 days. Thank you very much, Mr. Carlos, Europa Partners, for being over here, the kind of partnership that we think we can take over it. Many times we look at situations as a negative. I'm trying to see what can we pull as a positive from this negative situation and use this opportunity to take the world. The entire world looked at China as a manufacturing center of the entire world. And in the last 25 years, slowly manufacture moved from the Western world, from the South American world, from India and other countries into Chinese. This centralization of manufacturing activity and these things have certainly helped the rest of the world in terms of getting quality products at a lower price. Today we are challenged. We are challenged because this over dependence on any one country is not something. I'm all for global trade, and I think the advancement of global trade should be on an equitable basis, and hence this bilateral increase in trade is something that we should take it to the next level forward. So that's why I'm extremely happy today, and I'm grateful to all of you over here today in order to see how can we take this thing forward to the next level. India, as we have just talked on an offline basis, is now experimenting with vaccines and trying to see that the most cheapest vaccine in the world should be created. The most ambitious target is September of 2020, as was just mentioned by Mr. Rohit Rao. Of course, this is nothing is certain about these directions, but the very fact that the pharmaceutical companies are working very hyperactively in order to find solution to this pandemic crisis which has overtaken the entire world is certainly things that we are doing. In the last couple of days, India has set up new ideas of how partnerships can take place. And a lot of statements have been made by announcements have been made by our finance minister in the last 5 days, stating how this opening out and multilateral relationships are going to be made. A lot of foreign direct investments can be taken up. Bilateral trade with other countries is to be encouraged. And hence, I think this meeting today is most opportune for us to take it forward. So, my friends, thank you very much for joining from both sides of the world. And good morning and good evening to all of you. It's such a pleasure to really have and take off these interactions. I'm very certain that we should not be thinking that we will have some improvement in trade. We should think of what can we do in a 5x module. How can we do much more than we have ever done before? How is it possible to make a paradigm happen between India and Peru? That should be the kind of ambition that we want to trade. The people on the panel are the right people to guide us and give us ideas as to how this can happen. And we all wish you good health, safety, and happiness, not only for you, but all the rest of your family. We were just mentioned by our friend about his people who have been suffering through the COVID cases. And it was really sad and heart-rending to hear this story about how COVID can be very debilitating. But we have to find avenues out to help all these people. And we must see to it that our health systems are there capable of taking care of this crisis. I'm wishing you the very best of good health and happiness and preparing a roadmap. And we must vision a very ambitious roadmap in order to take this whole thing forward. Thank you very much for this opportunity, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much for those remarks, Dr. Hiranandani. And now we'll get started with our panel. First of all, we're going to be having a talk about the Peruvian economy post-COVID-19. And for that, I think we have Carlos Anderson. Carlos, are you here?
I am. Hope you can hear me. Hello.
Oh, brilliant. Hello. Yeah.
Can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, good. But apparently you cannot see me. I cannot see myself, though. I don't know what's going on, but I guess it has to do with the inability of the system to have 6 people at the same time. That's what I understand. Well, all right. Should I then just go on, even if you can only hear me, right? And you will miss my handsome face, but you have.
There is a button. There is a button on your screen, sir. If you can just try pressing, there is a video. If you touch your screen, there is a button which will enable you to come onto the.
I got it.
You're visible now, Carlos.
Congratulations.
Here I am. All right.
Sorry, Carlos, I'm going to leave the screen so you can start.
Okay, so I can start. Right? Well, listen. Thank you very much for this opportunity. I especially want to thank Dr. Hirandani because I think he has laid out our task for today. He's told us to be ambitious. Okay, and I want to sort of remember or recall or just let you know that this is not a ordinary webinar. Okay, we're not just talking about an ordinary situation. This is quite an extraordinary situation in every sense. This is COVID-19 has accelerated the future. Okay, and I want actually to emphasize this because I have always seen India as the country of the future. Not like Brazil. Brazil is known in Latin America, a bit cynically as the country of the future and the country that will always be of the future because it will never make it to the present because of their own, difficulties. But India, no doubt, will very soon, okay, become the world power that it aspires to be and it deserves to be, for all its inherent reasons. All right, and when you think about the Peruvian economy today, for instance, I mean, I could have come with a presentation and I could have said, well, look, I mean, the numbers are like this. GDP fell by 16.1% in March. Most probably, it will fall by 35–40% in April, but nothing of that would be surprising. Okay, the economy, society in general, has been closed for the last 2 months and something. Okay, and in a country that has such a small formal sector, okay, having locked up basically the people who somehow represent, a big bulk of your economy, okay, leads you to these results. So nothing new about that, and nothing new also about the fact that I think it's become now internationally known that the Peruvian government has put forward a very audacious fiscal plan in order to avoid, I wouldn't say to restart the economy, to be honest. I was just to avoid a further collapse of the economy. Okay, 12.5% of GDP, very similar to the efforts of the Indian government, where I understand your government is making an effort equivalent to 10% of the Indian GDP, right? But these are just, to be honest, known knowns. Okay, we all know about this. We all know that that this is perhaps the greatest economic calamity the world has suffered over the last 100 years. Okay, so my interest is actually to look forward. Okay, look forward, understanding what are the things that will need to change about the Peruvian economy. You may have heard, I mean, just like in the case of India, that for the last 25–30 years, the Peruvian economy had grown very fast, and indeed, it has grown. It had grown very fast. That a lot of progress had been made. True. That gave us, or allowed us to become, for instance, investment grade, countries from a credit perspective. That is true. Okay. That we have become, one of the largest food exporters, okay, in terms of avocados and asparagus and a number of other things, okay, all that is true, all right, but the one thing that COVID-19 has revealed to us Peruvians, okay, is that many of these things happened, okay, despite the fact that very little or no attention was given to certain sectors that now are revealed to be, real pillars of long-term sustainable economic development, okay, such as education, most importantly, the health sector, okay. To face COVID-19, okay, countries had to have at least a health system and a health sector that has some degree of resilience. Okay, ours has proved not to have it. Okay, but that is not surprising to whoever knew some of the numbers. Okay, we lack infrastructure, health infrastructure all throughout the country. We lack human capital in the health sector. Okay, this can be also translated to the education sector, where we have 60% of our schools need to have water, electricity, and some other services. Okay, so if we now understand, okay, that what had been done is not enough, okay, to face pandemics such as COVID-19, and if you take the view that going forward, okay, pandemics are unavoidable, okay, all right. I mean, COVID-19 may take a couple of years, all right, until we get a vaccine or an effective cure. Who knows? I mean, we want to wish for the best, but we are obliged to prepare for the worst, okay? And preparing for the worst means understanding that we have to have a war economy, okay? That means we have to have a war budget, okay? We need to make very harsh decisions about public investments and some other things, okay? I mean, for those of you who know the Peruvian economy, you will know that just like in any other emerging country, basically, we have what we call some white elephants, okay? Some big investments that serve very little or no social purpose, okay? But that for, strange reasons are there, and they consume big amounts of resources, okay? And I'm talking about, $6 billion invested in an oil refinery at a time when oil, the price of of oil is just collapsing, okay, and has no way of bringing, of improving over the short term or medium term or even the long term, okay. And so we as a country, the government, will have to make these decisions, okay. So where do we put our resources? How do we divert, okay, the scarce resources to those that will help us not only beat this pandemic, but also build a new economy? And there is no question that means creating or enhancing a digital economy. And here where India comes along, okay, telemedicine, teleeducation, and all sorts of tele something, okay, will have to happen in Peru big time. I mean, you talk to any Peruvian, people will say, oh, well, but we have telemedicine, or we have telework, or we have all this. But the reality is that we have a very narrow internet, highway, okay? So we need to revolutionize the internet economy in the country, okay? Big time. And
Sorry,
we need...
Carlos. Just to let you know, we have a couple minutes before we have to move on to the next panelist, please.
All right. Okay, a couple of minutes. You cut me short, but I was going there precisely, okay? I was saying then that the digital economy, all right, technology, systems to enhance our health service, like our health sector, our education sector. For instance, I mean, there are lots of people here talking about trade, or will be talking about trade. And I was thinking, for instance, why not work on an e-platform, okay, to boost trade, bilateral trade between India and Peru, a platform that can be built, okay, with your help. So I think that something else where I can see Indian investors in particular, helping out and making a profit here in Peru is understanding that cash is king. Okay, there are lots of opportunities, and there will be even more opportunities for companies to invest in Peru with the right partner. Okay, there are many sectors where companies, good companies, good quality companies, are in dire need of a foreign partner willing to understand that there are big opportunities, big possibilities of making big returns. All right, if only money accompanied by better business models and better technology will make the difference. And we need these enhancers. Money, that just comes with money is of no good use, to be honest. But money that comes with technology, that comes with new business models, will make a difference. Hope I make it on time. Made it on time.
You certainly did, Carlos. Thank you very much. Now to paint a picture as to what the economy will look like in India in this post-COVID-19 world, we have Mr. Suresh Kumar, is Joint Secretary of the Department of Commerce for the Ministry of Commerce and Industry in India. Welcome, Mr. Kumar. You have the floor.
Yeah, good morning, everyone in Peru, and good evening, everyone who have joined the webinar from India. I'm happy and privileged to be invited to participate in this webinar organized by ASSOCHAM and INCHAM at a very appropriate time, talking about the business opportunities between India and Peru. At the outset, I would like to mention that India and Peru have a very long-standing diplomatic relationship starting from 1963. Both countries have traditionally enjoyed cordial, mutually beneficial and respectful relationship and have signed several bilateral agreements in various fields to work together. Peru is one of the most dynamic, competitive and open markets in Latin America with very strong macroeconomic fundamentals and highest investment ratings. Peru's open economy, investment-friendly policies and anti-corruption measures have helped it stand strong despite political upheavals and corruption scandals in many other Latin American countries over the years. In the light of the complementarities in bilateral trade, both sides, India and Peru, have agreed to negotiate for a comprehensive trade agreement in 2017, and we have completed 5 rounds of negotiations till now, and the 6th round was scheduled in the month of April. Unfortunately, because of COVID, we had to postpone it, but we are trying to work out a mechanism, how we can actually do it digitally and come to a conclusion very soon. Now, coming to the scenario which we are facing today, domestically and globally, we all know that COVID has really changed not only the health sector in the world, but the economic, global trade and all aspects of life has been completely changed. Now, COVID has generated a lot of challenges globally for almost all nations, facing lot of constraints in economic development, administrative issues, public health, social welfare, all aspects. However, as our Prime Minister Modi ji has recently told, this is a challenge for the humanity, but we cannot be succumbed by this pandemic. We have to take this challenge as an opportunity and not only defeat the coronavirus and win over COVID, but we have to work together for a new world order, wherein we are more self-reliant, we are more self-sufficient, and we will be able to emerge as global leaders. As Carlos was mentioning in the beginning, and also some other participant, that world is today maybe looking at India as the emerging global power because of the various issues which has happened in last couple of months. In order to make use of this opportunity, India is preparing itself, and this webinar which I am participating today also, I think, is one of those channels through which we can actually communicate our collective will. Now, you all know that India, even before this COVID pandemic, lot of and a massive structural changes in the economy sector was actually happening. And this has actually made our resolve stronger to make more changes in the economic sector in the global trade. So now, how this is going to pan out for the Indian and Peruvian industries, that is what we are all keen to know. I will briefly mention a few points, like what in India now in last couple of months there has been a lot of thought, lot of consultations, lot of feedbacks, discussions which has happened. In fact, in last 2 months of lockdown, I would say that we had much more consultations, interactions, feedback than what we had in last 1 year. I can very confidently say this because we were all having a lot of time to do that. Now, this has resulted in coming out with a lot of new strategies, how we have to face the world. A couple of things. There are a few enablers which are required for any economic activity, industrial activity, or trade activity to flourish. India is working very, very hard on these items. You all may be knowing that. Ease of doing business is one, which has a lot of tremendous positive changes has happened, but still a lot of it has to percolate down to tier 2, tier 3 cities and the hinterland, which is what the government is currently focusing. Similarly, the foreign direct investment, logistic, about the domestic logistic network, and also the global supply chains. This is considered to be one of the big challenges for India today, which we are very, very seriously working on. And also the land issues, labor issues, issues related to the power sector. These are the issues which were highlighted by industries across the sector. So these are being seriously looked into, and I am sure that in the coming days, you will all hear a lot of encouraging and positive changes which are going to happen in these sectors. In fact, with the main objective with which the government of India will be working is to ensure that more and more industries come up in the country, be it the domestic industrialist or from all over the world. So Make in India is not just for the people who are born and brought up in India, but any industries across the world are invited with both hands to India today. Now we are going to facilitate this in a much bigger manner now because of this emerging scenario. There are a few sectors where, based on our understanding and based on our study on the issues, especially as far as the Peruvian sector is concerned, there are a few areas where you all know that today, though Peru is the 4th largest trade partner of India in the Latin America, in absolute numbers the trade volumes are very, very low. So we have not even touched 1 billion in our exports to Peru, and Peru's export to India is also hovering around 2 to 2.5 billion only. This is very minuscule. This is very only 1 or 2%. However, there is a huge potential. In fact, the total imports which Peru does an year is almost about $43 billion. And today, if India has not been able to get even 1 billion out of this 43 billion pie, that shows that there is a lot of scope for improvement. There are a lot of sectors where India has clear advantage, even in the existing scenario, and in the future scenario. I am sure sectors like bulk drugs, intermediaries, drug formulations and chemical products, textiles and its products, vegetable products, prepared foodstuff, plastics and rubber, base metals and articles thereof, including steel and other items, machinery and mechanical appliances, heavy machinery, transportation equipment, including the automobiles sector. These are the sectors where there is huge potential, and India is also having huge advantage in these sectors. So what we will be looking at when we talk about the bilateral trade negotiations, these are the sectors where we should actually develop more competency and try to expand. Now, in the field of IT, which was just now mentioned, already some of the Indian IT companies have their presence in Peru, but I am sure in the coming days, this is going to expand further. Similarly, automobile sector also, some of the companies are already there, but this is also going to increase tremendously. Now, India is also looking for not just precious metals, which occupies almost 80% of Peru's export to India today. We also want to diversify into more and more sectors. In the trade negotiations which are going on, there are large number of almost about 3,000 trade lines on which both the countries are actually negotiating. I am hopeful that we will be able to come out with some of these sectors successfully, and this will actually help both India and Peru to develop more friendly and more favorable sectors. And one point which I would like to mention to the Indian industries who are already having trade relations with Peru, recently because of the COVID incident, in fact, Peru has reduced the import duties on some 47 items, mostly in the pharmaceutical and chemical sector, from 6% to 0%. So today, even without a trade agreement, there are a few items in which India is already exporting. The import duty is now 0% in Peru. So we have already communicated this to all the export promotion councils. I request all of you to make use of it. And I'm expecting that this relaxation will actually extend for quite some time. It's not going to be lifted very soon. So please focus on those sectors. I'm not going to take more time because we can actually give more time for interaction also. So any area where you already have a presence, or you think, because in the future we will have to look for new territories and new commodities also. Some of the industries, like in India, I can now say that some of the people have, in just 2 months time, India has actually started manufacturing sanitizers, PPE equipments, surgical mask and all, which 2 months back we had zero domestic production. So Indian industry is capable of taking care of the rising requirement and immediately raising to the expectation and making use of it. So with these words, I stop here and look forward to hear from the other panelists and from the participants. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kumar. I think these two talks shed a lot of light as to what the economy for both India and Peru looks like and will look like in this post-COVID world. And now, well, on a more positive note, we're going to move on to discuss business opportunities for goods and services and investments between our two countries. And for this, we're going to start with Mr. Cabello. Mr. Cabello is Trade Counselor of Peru in India. He's had a 35-year-long career in companies and organizations related to foreign trade. So please, Mr. Cabello, go ahead. Sorry, I cannot hear you.
Yeah, okay, sorry.
There you go.
Good evening for everybody here in India. Good morning for all my people there in Peru. Look, what I have to say about what your words about Mr. Kumar is that the thing is that we have to educate our people, because I know that we, both countries, we have a lot of opportunities here. That is why we are here. And in my case, why I'm here, and I'm sure that your people, with the participation of His Excellency, have to do a good job just to let the people know that there are a lot of opportunities in both countries. Okay, that is something that we have to work together. I said yesterday when we had a couple of days when we had this conversation, is that again we have to educate our people. Okay, look, I know that this conversation has to go to SMEs and people that are interested to do business and investments in, especially in Peru, in both countries. No, something that I have to say is that all of you, all you as a business people, You have to think about 3 or 4 particular steps while you are thinking about a market, especially market like India. That's in case of Peruvians. First of all, you have an idea of business. You are working there in Peru or there in India. You have an idea of what you want to do in another country. Then you have to look for a market. Without a market, your business is not going to grow. And then you have to develop a product for that market. Okay, everything together in a business plan. That are four steps that you have to follow as business people. Now, look, in investment in Peru is something that you will find that it's fantastic because you will always find a market there, especially in India. A lot of experience is something that you have. Okay, now the thing is that Peru right now is in a good position talking about political and the economical situation. We are in one of the best economies when we talk about stability. In the last maybe 20 or maybe more years, we have been growing, not in the numbers that India was growing, but our economy is stable. We have our own issues as any other country, but the thing is that we are growing in many ways. The economic debt, the economical situation, I mean, we have received a lot of stable ratings from all these research agencies. And I think that my country is rich in natural resources. And you know what? It's rich in entrepreneurs. That is something that is important, okay? Sectors as mining, sectors as agriculture, sectors as services are something that you have to think about when you are planning to invest in another country like Peru. In my case, I have to promote this to Peru. I wrote something because, you know, I have only 10 minutes, so I have to follow this. Okay, look, we have more than 20 trade agreements. Some are free trade agreements, some are only trade agreements. So that is a huge opportunity to think about a market that is really extended. You don't have to think about only Peru, but you have to think about all the countries that have agreements with us. So it's an open opportunity. It's an opportunity for you because we're opening markets in Latin America, in Europe, in Asia. I mean, a huge market for you. No, now you have to understand that this is a good opportunity because we have a legal framework that is favorable to any kind of investment. No discrimination. We are not giving benefits because if we are a Peruvian, I will require to my government that give me the same benefits to a foreign investor. Okay. Now there is no discrimination. Your company, if you're planning to do business there, your company will have the same rights as a Peruvian company. That is important. You can do business in euros. You can do business in dollars, in our local currency. You are free to bring your money back if you need it. Okay, then there is no exchange control. You can invest in another countries, in another companies if you want. We give guarantees to private property, among many other things that we are offering to the investors in my country. Look, talking about agribusiness, you know, Peru is, as well as India, very good in agriculture. Okay. We can say that because of the weather, the climate, and our soil, we are one of the largest exporters of some of the products, asparagus, as many others. No, now my government is working to provide more investments in this particular sector. Plus, we are also promoting our products abroad. So that is also a good opportunity in case you are in this particular sector. IT, another sector that you have to consider. Why? India has, I don't know how many years of experience in IT. I'm sure that people in this particular sector that maybe plan to go to Peru, and when they reach to my market, they will know what to do because they lived that before. You had a lot of it. We are now growing in this particular sector. It's something almost new for us. 10 years back, I worked before in a project, okay, and maybe 8 to 10 years back, people was scared when you talk about e-commerce. How can I use my credit card? How can I pay with a credit card? Oh, the money will be stolen. Now they are looking for a different situation in this particular sector. No? Look, this sector offers to you good opportunity for what? I can talk about cloud technology, iCloud technology, softwares, for example, for hospitals, for restaurants, hotels, among others, website designs, digital marketing, e-commerce, and many other options that you are now dealing with here in this market. Now, something that I'm looking for, investors for Indian food restaurants. That is what I need, because you know how India prefers the Indian food abroad. I'm sure that some of your friends will go visit another country, and I'm sure they are looking for masala. Yeah, we have some Indian restaurants, and in order to increase the number of tourism from India to Peru later, okay, we need to have in my country more Indian restaurants. I remember that one delegation from one ministry, I'm not going to say which one, visited Peru last year, and they went there carrying their own snacks. You know what you prefer, so that is what we are looking for. Now, talking about export in the Indian market, the thing is, again, we have to educate our people, our business people, okay? We have a lot of opportunities here for grapes and avocados. So if you are listening to me and you are in this particular sector, okay, think about grapes and avocados. First, why grapes? 2 years back, Peru was the second largest exporters of grapes to India. They prefer, for example, grapes as our red glove. And we are planning to change this particular variety of grape for another, okay? Avocados. India is looking for healthy food. And you know that avocados give you a lot of health when you are eating it. Good fat for your body, okay? Pulses. You know, India. I mean, when I reached here, I was more than surprised when I went to the market and I found dal or lens. I mean, in Peru we have only two. I mean, they are our lens are only in different size, but in the same color, brown. The brown one, that is what we have. Small one and the big gray. Yeah, but now here in India you have many grains. But you are looking for more products from that particular sector. I mean, pulses, especially black eye bean. Okay. Another product.
Sorry to interrupt, Mr. Cabello, but we only have a couple of minutes before we have to move on to the next panelist.
Cocoa, look, we are looking to increase the number of, the presence of our products, talking about blueberries and citrus, maca powder, sachainchi oil, some products for the personal care industry. We are good in that. And I have to finish with some chemicals, and remember, semi-precious stones that you need for your jewelry. Okay, done. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I say difficult to spend only 10 minutes explaining what we can do together.
Well, thank you very much. And well, welcome. Now to discuss investment, trade, and import-export opportunities for India in Peru, or well, Peru for India as well. We have His Excellency Ambassador Mandarupu Subarayudu, is Ambassador for India in Peru. Welcome, Ambassador. You have the floor now.
Thank you. Greetings from the Embassy of India in Lima. I'm sure all of us are taking necessary precautions to overcome ferocious virus and remain safe. The crisis created by COVID-19 pandemic has impacted the world of business and industry as never before. It has disrupted supply chains and conventional channels of commerce and business, including buyer-seller exchanges. We see a dip in global economic activity, demand, access to key inputs, basically the entire value chain. The impact is both immediate and long-term, the extent of which is yet to be fully captured. What we know is the need for identifying shortfalls, understanding mutual strengths, and making adjustments to ensure the cooperation is sustained and further enhanced. In this context, the initiative of ASSOCHAM and ICHA is a timely first step. I wish to convey my appreciation to both the bodies and thank all participants for their desire to see the bilateral economic and commercial engagement between India and Peru expand and prosper. Also, thank you for this opportunity to join the webinar and share some thoughts on business opportunities. Talking about India's current commercial engagement with Peru, you would recall the value of bilateral trade had seen a threefold increase in 5 years from 2014 to 2018 at $3.38 billion, but the potential is yet to be realized, as rightly observed by my colleague, Mr. Suresh Kumar. After growing at an average annual rate of almost 24%, the trade has dropped by 20% last year, and to reverse this sudden trend this year is going to be even more challenging. Despite the drop, India remains the 7th largest global trading partner of Peru, and for India, Peru continues to be the 4th largest partner in Latin America. Can we take this for granted? Can we improve it further? These are the questions. In the India-Peru discourse, we often hear constraints like geographical distances, connectivity issues, warehousing facilities, true appreciation of potential, right partners, enabling ecosystem, etc. The commercial engagement in the post-COVID-19 period will continue to face these constraints and perhaps even on a much larger scale. Going forward, what steps the industry could adopt towards mutually productive relationship? Understand strengths of each side. Industry needs innovative trading practices and production partnerships based on capabilities. It has to be a complementary approach that fills the identified shortfalls. As rightly said by another speaker in the beginning, technology is taking the center stage in all economic and commercial activities. It is relevant to note that absorption and adoption of technology is one of the objectives of Peru's National Innovation Program for Competitiveness and Productivity. India has proven abilities in information and communication as well as other technologies. The Indian IT industry has been creative and has succeeded in delivering seamless solutions worldwide during the health emergency inflicted by COVID-19. India is always a willing technology partner of Peru. Adequate healthcare facilities and access to affordable medicine has become a basic necessity. India has acquired strengths in pharmaceuticals, medical components, and critical healthcare technologies. India is considered a reliable supplier of affordable and quality medicine and medical devices. This is an area of potential cooperation for India and Peru. A virtual Healthcare and Hygiene Expo 2020 is being held from 22nd to 26th June. Peruvian industry is invited to take part. We will be sharing the details. Energy sector, especially from renewable sources, is an area of good potential for India and Peru. India has acquired considerable expertise in solar energy. Our two countries are founding members of International Solar Alliance. Companies in both countries can take advantage of opportunities, including in rural electrification and transmission networks. India has proven strengths across the entire value chain of textile sector. On the other hand, Peru specializes in certain categories of textile sector. They share a complementary partnership which is mutually rewarding. Inputs from India at competitive prices could be used by Peruvian companies to produce value-added garments for further exports. There are many such sectors where trade and business opportunities exist. My colleague, Mr. Suresh Kumar, had already given those names. I would only complement some. For example, agricultural products, processed foods, unexplored area, agricultural machinery, tools, customized vehicles, defense equipment and spares, medical devices and consumables in addition to pharmaceuticals, chemicals, renewable energy equipment, leather and footwear. These are some additional areas. As the small and medium enterprises sector is the focus area of today's webinar, we see immense potential for cooperation in this area. Companies can join hands to achieve value addition and become globally competitive in sectors like agricultural automation, agro-business, food processing, leather, engineering, textiles, traditional medicines, herbal medicines and consumables, as well as jewelry and handicrafts. We are working towards organizing an online capacity building program for small and medium enterprises of Peru under the Indian Technical and Economic Cooperation ITEC program. Services sector is a leading driver of our economies. Data collection and analytical technologies improve online marketing performance. In this digital era, new technologies are crucial in creating, improving, and optimizing services. Indian firms can supply sophisticated products and serve as a strategic partner for Peru. I invite business to look at opportunities to collaborate in other services sectors like financial, hospitality, tourism, etc. India has one of the most open investment regimes in the world. As my colleague Suresh also mentioned, there are opportunities to invest in infrastructure development projects, mining, food processing, services, processing of precious metals, jewelry, agricultural machinery, automobiles, power generation and distribution, irrigation and water resources. I'm glad to inform you that both Indian and Peruvian businesses will have a series of digital business interactions lined up to explore opportunities in areas of medical devices and consumables, electronics and software, leather and leather products, and engineering goods and components. We also intend to have virtual interactions in pharmaceuticals, chemicals, and textile sectors in coming months. Before I conclude, let me highlight that barring in 2019, economies of India and Peru grew by 7 to 7.5% and 4 to 4.5% respectively over a decade. The strength, performance, potential, and capabilities of economies of India and Peru are well known. The way our respective economies have expanded over years and given our strong fundamentals, complementarities, and opportunities, there is no doubt that we can overcome this emergency if we synergize our efforts for enhanced trade and investment ties. As the fifth largest economy of the world with a GDP of $2.94 trillion, India seeks to grow further by connecting with private sector, promoting fair competition, creating wealth, and eliminating outdated laws. This journey offers many opportunities for India-Peru business cooperation. We hope that strong business ties between India and Peru will help both countries mitigate the economic shock created by COVID-19 crisis. I would like to thank everyone for this opportunity and muchas gracias. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador. Very insightful indeed. And now I believe we have time for just a few questions. We've received a few from the audience in advance. First of all, I'd like to ask Mr. Carlos Anderson, what do you consider are the most important investment opportunities for Indian companies in Peru at the moment?
Okay, I think I said it, and Ambassador Subaravidu has just reaffirmed it. Okay, there are two main sectors: the health sector, in every respect. Okay, in every respect, and generally speaking, the digital economy. We need to have a technology partner. Okay, but all throughout all the activities. I mean, we need to promote teleeducation, telehealth services. We need to transform also the labor force, okay, with a number of programs, and I think that these are areas where definitely, you know, we can benefit from India's technology and advancements. Okay, but I also think that, you know, Indian investors looking at these sectors, and some of the others also mentioned, like transforming, you know, our food exports into something more than just, you know, raw exports, okay, but with some degree of transformation, all right, that if they were to establish the right partnerships, okay, bringing in their technology, their business models, and their capital, okay, because Peruvian companies mostly will be, you know, capital strapped. Okay, they will need some capital, some degree of capital, and I think that this is the right time to create these joint ventures or strategic alliances. You know, not only to produce for the Peruvian market, which is small, okay, but also to use it as a stepping stone into other markets. I mean, we have a free trade agreement with the United States, as Mr. mentioned. We have actually free trade agreement with many other countries, and so this can be a springboard. Okay, the hospital areas, you know, we need to build hospital. We need to equip them as much as possible, and then clearly we also have the pharmaceutical industry. You know, where India is far ahead of many countries in the world, and we can benefit with that kind of relationship. I think that, you know, going forward, there's a realization in Peru that nothing can be done unless people are healthy, okay, and generally all the people are healthy. So there will be, okay, either by this government or by any incoming government, there will be a special focus on health, on education, on retraining labor, and building the digital economies. These are the four sectors, I think, where Indian investors should focus their interest.
Thank you very much, Mr. Anderson. And well, Mr. Kumar, we've received quite a few questions asking about the trade agreement between India and Peru. I know you've talked a bit about it in your presentation, but could you perhaps go into a little bit more detail, specifically as what stage of the agreement are you in, and when can people expect it to be ready?
Yeah, in fact, I briefly mentioned earlier that we were supposed to have the 6th round of our negotiation in April. However, because of COVID, we could not do it. So we are now in touch with with our counterpart there in Lima to plan negotiation through digital video conference, which is actually a challenge because we have 5 or 6 streams on which we are negotiating. This is actually a trade negotiation on both goods, services, and investment all put together. So we have a few channels, but we will try to work out a mechanism because, you know, we are not hopeful that in the few months we don't think that international travel will be happening. So we will definitely try to work out on this and conclude it as early as possible.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kumar. Mr. Cabello, we received a few questions inquiring about a product related to the pandemic, specifically medical products, such as alcohol, pharma-grade alcohol, and other healthcare-related products. Could you maybe explain a little bit what the demand might look like, and if import might be relaxed a little bit in the next few months?
Okay, look, as you mentioned, what we have to do here in this market is to promote our exports to India, not the Indian exports to Peru. But I got a lot of requirements from many companies in the country, many. And look, there is something that you have to understand. They need to start being in touch with Peruvian importers of this kind of product. That is something that you have to, you have to consider, the Indian embassy in Peru has all the information about Peruvian importers. And that is a channel, Mr. Ambassador, that is something that I usually or normally hear from the people that call me or maybe send me messages that they really don't know why are you there in Peru. They think that you are only a diplomat and that's all, and that is not the truth. You have people in the trade office, in the marketing office, or yes, trade office, that they're always helping the Indian people that when they got an email or a phone call. So that is the way. I think that is the channel. Now, yes, we have a lot of demand of these products. Everybody knows what kind of products India is offering to the world. I remember that years back, and that's part of the history. Years back, we really didn't believe about the quality of the Indian products, but right now, the Indian products are everywhere. Talking about the pharma products. So it's a good opportunity for Indian companies to think that not only Peru, Latin America needs more medicine. So it's a good opportunity for business. Now, again, my request is please get in touch with the Indian embassy in Peru. There is a lady that is working in a particular office that I'm sure that she will provide all the information about Peruvian importers, names, company names, contact numbers, or the emails of this company. So that is a channel that you have to use in this case.
Thank you, Mr.
May I supplement a little bit?
Please.
Please go ahead, Mr. Ambassador.
Yeah, I think Mr. Cabello mentioned about the trade office in the Indian Embassy in Lima. So we have a full-fledged commercial wing, and it is headed by a senior officer, Counselor Commercial, and he is also called commercial representative. We have colleagues, very dynamic colleagues working with him. So we are extending all the help, and if those who have some information gap, they are always welcome. Please do visit Indian Embassy website. You will have all the details, and we will certainly provide all the required guidance and advice. We have been having wonderful relationship with authorities here, other chambers of commerce, including Lima Chamber of Commerce. Of course, INCHAM has been very active. So we would be very happy to facilitate your efforts here in order to take either business or trade forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ambassador. And
Thank you.
to follow up, I have a specific question for you. What kind of technology sharing programs should be a focus between India and Peru?
See, now, as I mentioned in my intervention, technology has become fundamental to improvement of anything that you are doing. Whether it is production, the way you manufacture, or whether the way you trade, the way you deliver service, everything now is technology based. For example, I just mentioned to you that now the exposition conference is becoming virtual. Next month you will see. I will forward all the details. So that means there is so much that we can do. It is limitless, and technology itself is a topic on which we can have an exclusive webinar, and we are planning in the coming weeks a webinar with Indian Association with the help of the Department of Commerce led by our Director General, Mr. Suresh. So we would be sharing this, and technology can play a vital role, and this is the strength. And I always believe in that complementarity between our two countries, where we can learn a lot from Peru, and we can also share wherever we can with you to improve. And in my view, technology can play, and there is no limit in technology. You take your requirements and technology can be applied there. And if India has that, we would be more than happy. Let me share with you that, space, we have already started a wonderful cooperation. 2 experts from CUNIDA visited Bangalore and had October to December 3 months training in how to assemble nano satellites. So this is how we are moving forward. We have high volume competition technology. We have India Peru Center of Excellence in Information Technology, established in 2015 in Lima with the assistance of Government of India, and that is operating. So there are many areas where we can work, and technology is an enabler now. So India is willing to share.
May I add something about what you have said, and I think that is something important. Look, if you, I'm talking about to all the people that are listening us to this webinar, here in this webinar. Look, if you are planning to do business with India or with Peru, my opinion, my personal opinion, is that you have to visit the market. It's quite difficult just to look what's going on online. Okay, because you need to feel what India is needing in case of Peruvian, and also what a Peruvian is needing. Look, the experience of all these 6 years working here tell me that all the Peruvian companies that visit India, okay, in all these years, are right now doing good business with Indian companies because they really know what they need. It's impossible, for example, for a Peruvian to think that in India, they will eat exactly what we eat in Peru. No. They are going to use the same fabrics? No. I mean, they have to know exactly what is going on in the market. And on the other side, they have to go to Peru and look what opportunities they have there in that market. That is my suggestion.
Thank you for that insight, Mr. And just to finish up, I'd like to direct one last question to Mr. Anderson regarding the mining sector in Peru. What do you think are the most important investment opportunities for Indian companies relating to the mining sector? Specifically, people ask about whether the discovery of lithium in Peru is something India can leverage.
Well, I'm not familiar with how much the Indian industry, mining industry, is into lithium, but clearly, I mean, being in technology, lithium mineral is good to have. The lithium metal, okay, and lithium batteries are the future. We have plenty of lithium, right? And we see that Chile, Argentina, Bolivia, you know, they're all doing something with their lithium. I understand that there are some difficulties in the sense that lithium appears together with uranium, and we don't seem to have local legislation, okay, making sure that we don't mix one with the other, right? But you know, whatever laws are needed, I mean, should be changed or should be produced. After all, we're so good at producing laws, right? The majority of which are good for nothing, right? So here we have a good opportunity to produce laws that are relevant, that should basically prop up a sector that is being overlooked. Because I particularly like the question because, I mean, the world knows that Peru is one of the largest producers of copper, producers of gold, producers of zinc. Okay, we all know that, right? And there are already established channels, commercial channels, and investment channels, and companies that are good at it, et cetera, et cetera. But find new sectors, okay, like rare earths or in this case, lithium, are the kind of thing that I think would make a difference, okay? Indian investors, I mean, if they have this kind of expertise and the necessary resources, I think should come and help us exploit, you know, a resource that is there, sleeping, okay, and that could actually add in lots to the Peruvian economy.
I want to add, if it is possible, to add something about what Mr. Carlos.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Look, some years back, when I just reached here, a group of companies came to my office and they talk about copper. They were asking me, okay, I need a list of Peruvian exporters of copper. Yeah. In that moment, I remember that I mentioned, but why you are asking me some information of Peruvian exporters when you can go there and invest in something like that? Yeah, we will do it. That was the answer. And after 4 years, they came back to my office asking me for the same information. And I said, look, this is the opportunity. You have to invest there because, believe me, in one moment, you are not going to buy copper or any other mineral to a Peruvian company because a lot of investors are doing business in that particular sector. And I'm sure that at the end, in some years, not today, not tomorrow, maybe in a couple of years more, or maybe 10 years more, you will start buying copper to a company that is not a Peruvian company. I hope that that is a good expression of what we need. People are investing in that particular market because we are really good in that particular market. When I reach here, the export in case of gold, okay, the Peruvian export of gold to India was around 92 million US dollars. Right now, we cross 2 billion. I don't have in my mind how much gold we have exported here to India. So why are you buying? Why you are not investing in that particular sector there in Peru? That is something that you have to think about if you are in this particular sector.
Thank you, Mr. Cabello. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have today. So I want to thank all the panelists, and I'd like to ask Mr. Rohit Rao, President of India Peru, to give us some closing remarks, please.
Yeah, sure. Thank you very much, Mr. Subaraidu, His Excellency, Sri Suresh Kumar, Carlos, querido Carlos, Miguel, and Dr. Hiranandani for having us all over here. I would really add very few points what has been mentioned here. As Dr. Hiranandani said, let's not walk, let's leap it, let's jump. The opportunity is there today. And as the Indian President says, all these things, what is happening today, will change into a big opportunity, which we must take. And as Miguel rightly said, that we have free trade agreements with many countries. What are we waiting for? Let's the Indian small and medium-sized industries come and see what can be done on a constructive basis to work with the small-scale industry in Peru and manufacture something, a finished product, whatever, let's say something small, something big, but it will give a big leap. It will give the Indian industries to understand what is Latin America all about. Peru is the right hub. Peru is centrally located, and our human resources are fantastic, just like Indians. I'm an Indian, Peruvian, or Peruvian Indian, whatever you may say. But I see both of us have similar hearts, similar brains, and similar courage. So we have to take this advantage of do this some sort of finished product and export. Let's quickly come into what Mr. Miguel said about pulses. Yes, today Peru can fill the demand of hunger of pulses for India. But how? Do we have the capacity in Peru to invest? No. What can the big Indian companies do? Do a contract manufacturing, technically speaking, on the pulses sector. Come here, there's a lot of land available, a lot of things available, which can be done. So there's nothing much more to add, but to invite both sectors to take this dynamically ahead. Take the leap, as Dr. Hiranandani said. As Mr. Suresh said, let's get to it, let's do it. And I would really thank everybody and everybody in Lima, in Peru, and in India to think as brother and sister countries, where both have a lot of opportunities to do on both the sectors, on every sector that we talked about. Thank you very much, and I'm sure there'll be much more webinar. And I don't want to close it before thanking Bhavna, thanking Claudia, thanking Ambassador Castañeda, thanking everybody who's made this happen. Thank you very much, and have a good evening in India and good day in Peru. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you,
Rao.
and bye.
Thank you on behalf of ASSOCHAM also. Once again, I reiterate our thanks, hearty thanks to the ambassador, Mr. Trade Consular, Carlos Anderson, Rohit Rao, and also Mr. Suresh Kumarji. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful morning as well as a wonderful
Sorry,
evening.
I forgot to say something. Please take care. Take care of yourself and all your family and all the people around you. Please do it. Okay?
Thank you, sir. Take care. Goodbye. Bye.
Bye-bye.